Alrighty, here we go. We're going to log in to AutoCAD 2024 and we'll build our tool palettes real quick, and then I'll try to do the series as I'm designing out the current deck that I need to design. I'll show you how to build your palette first. When you first download the program, you're going to want to build a new drawing template is what you're going to want to do, and then you start all your drawings from there. That way all your line types and thicknesses and everything are built the way that you want them, at least for the most part, to make all of your future drawings easier. So I started building some of the tool palettes already. In this new drawing template right here. You want to eventually learn command keys is what you want to do. For example, if I want to draw a line, I can either go up here and I can pick line, and I can draw a line like this, right? I could set angle, preferences, length, and I can hit escape to get out of that tool. And now I just drew this, right? Or I can go L space, and it does the same thing. So long term, if you can remember the command keys, it's going to help you, because you can do this two-handed. One hand over here on the mouse, right, moving the cursor and stuff like that. The other hand can access your commands, your tool palette, easier than you could if you had to use your eye to track up here every time to click a tool and then do it. What you want to mostly use these manually for is going to be to set your lines, to build lines or layers, and then over here when you get to annotation, you want to be able to set your text heights, multi-letter lengths, all that good stuff, right? Same thing with your dimensions. When you do a dimension, you know, for example, if I click this and I wanted to dimension what this was from here to here, then I'd click the 2 points. But right now that's kind of hard to see unless I zoom in, right? So I can go in here and I can alter this to read out bigger, so I could actually read it when I'm zoomed out here, right? So you want to build your first drawing that you're doing, just name it new template, and save it as new template, and use that drawing. Build your tools first. So if I click up here, there's going to be a manager, right? Dimensions. Well, first I want to have objects to be able to check it off of, so I just hit U and then space, and that undid my last move, which was erasing all that. But I go up here, there's a little arrow right here. I'm going to click that. This is going to pop up, and I can click one of these two. I'll go standard, and then I'll go modify, and I can go in here and I can tell it what color I want the text, what size, I'll go in here, I'll change the text height. I'll go to 6.5 inches. I'll go to my, well, let's just go through the tabs. First tab is line. And I want my dimension lines by color. I want them red. I want the line type to be by block. Line weight by block. I could go in here though, and I could make it bolder or not if I wanted to. Um, you can mess with your tick marks in here, which for some reason it's not letting me do that right now, but I can play with this right here. Baseline spacing, which I'll get more into that stuff later. The main thing is, you know, you can get in here and you can change your tools. So offset from origin, let's just do 2 inches. Let's make the extend beyond dimension lines, let's do the same thing, 2 inches. Let's go to symbols, arrows, and fit. I got the first arrow, second arrow, and leaders are all closed filled, so that means my arrows are going to be solid. I got an arrow size of 4 inches, but I thought they were small, so I'm going to do 8 inches. My dimension break, I'm going to change that to 1 inch. I can go back to my text, check my color. I'm not using a fill color. I can check my fit right here, and it's going to give me different options. If there isn't enough room to place both text and arrows inside extension lines, the first thing to move outside of the extension lines is, and I want my arrows to move, I want my numbers to be inside of my dimension lines whenever possible.
Daddy.
What?
Can you get me some strawberries?
Yeah, you're going to have to give me a minute.
Okay.
When text is not in the default position, place it beside the dimension line. Over here at primary units, I can set it to architectural. It'll give you engineering, decimal, scientific. I'm drawing a deck. It's going to be architectural, right? That's what I'm doing. And my precision is set to a 64th of an inch. You can suppress or get rid of leading zeros, so that way if you had a decimal number or something, you could shed some of the zeros to clear up your dimension in your drawings a little bit. I can go to alternate units. I'd have to play with this a little bit. I don't really remember that. It's been a long time since I've actually done a lot of AutoCAD stuff. And then over here at your tolerances, you can do all your tolerances. But that's what I wanted to set this to. I'm going to see what the difference does down here for my look. I'm going to set it to current. And then I'm going to close that out. And it looks like my numbers and stuff got a little bit bigger. So now I can kind of read them. See that when I'm zoomed out a little bit, I can read that as 29 feet 9 inches. All right. So that's how you can alter your dimension lines. If you go over here to the multi-leader section, you can click the same thing. I can go over here, standard, modify. I'll go to the first thing, leader format. I want that to be red all the time. Same thing, my arrow head is closed filled. I'm going to do a bigger arrow here. 8 inches again. My leader break size, I'll do 1 inch again. Click the next tab, leader structure. Landing distance, I'll do 3 inches. Content. My text color, I also see right now it's reading as purple over here. I want that to be red as well. And I can do my text height right here. So I want my text height. I'm going to do the same thing. I did on the other one, which I think was 6.5 inches. And then that should read, the text height for my multi-liters or my liters should read as the same height as my dimension lines. Alright? I did my landing gap 1 inch, which your landing is the little flat part that sticks out of the multi-liter. Alright? And the gap is the gap between the lettering and your liter. If it's too close together and you got a big liter, small letters, then they can kind of blend together. Right? So now this thing is built where I want it to be. So I'll save that and I'll set to current. And then I'll close that out. Now I can click this multi-liter tool and I could put a multi-liter to this point, say, if I wanted to. And I could type out whatever I want. Blah, blah, blah. And then I'll hit escape when I want to get out of that. And then it's going to ask me, do you want to save your changes? Yes. Now if you look, this is set to about the same height as that. Right? And I might have to change it a little bit when you go to your paper space. Because this is where you want to be able to read it at, right? So that's a good start for me there. And if I need to, from this point, change the heights of the text or anything, then I'll go through while I'm doing one, and I'll get one to look good in paper space so it's legible. And then I'll go through and I'll change all my other tool palettes to the same text heights. Same thing if you look over here. Multi-line text. And then there's a drop-down single-line text, right? So you could do either one. But if you look in the little bottom right-hand corner, there's an arrow there. And that's how you get into your tool manager. And I could go through and do the same thing here with the text style. Click standard. Click new. I'll call it style 1. We did 6.5 inch text height. Set current. Close that out. Now if I go back to my model space, if I click multi-line text and I go to 2 points, it should read out to be about the same size. Something's going on with my color, but it's because up here it's clicked by layer. And I actually go in here and I can just click the red color. Whoops. I'll erase that. I'll do it over. And I actually have a color that's made already for dimension lines. So now I can click 2 points, multi-line, click 2 points, oops, it's because in layers, see that? I need to click over here, dimension. That's my dimension line color. Now I can go back over here to annotate. Pick the 2 points. Right? Multi-line text. Do you want to save changes? Yes. And there you go. So now this matches the same height as that. And again, If I go to paper space, which is my layout down here, I got different tabs, and I could do different layouts off the same drawing, but that's right here. So I could read it good enough for now, but maybe I change it a little bit to make it more legible when I turn in my drawings. And if I change one, I'll go through at the same exact time and I'll change all of them, so that way I'm not having any problems. I'll make one look good, change them all. Okay. I'll go back over here. Now, I've already built in here, you can see I have annotation, center line, construction line, def points, dimension. I got hidden object. I got object 1, 2, and 3. I got viewport. I got window. I could do another one, doors. Let's go ahead and make a new layer. Right here's the layers manager, or layer property, sorry, right here. I'm going to go through. I can click this button right here. If I hover over anything, it should tell me what that is. And it'll also give me the command key right there. Alt-N. Delete layer. Alt-D. Right? So if there's a command key, it should tell me there, and then I could start memorizing those. But for now, I'm going to go here. I'm going to click this button right here. In my Manage Properties for my layers, I'm going to click that. That's going to be a new layer. It's going to let me name it right here, right now. See this one highlighted? I'm going to call this concrete. Now that I've named it concrete, I'm going to click over here on the color. My color palette's going to pop up, and I'm going to make it a medium gray. That's what I'm going to do. Click OK. I could go in here to my line, and I can load lines right here. Right now, these are the lines that I predominantly am using, and so it's giving me those options. But I can load more right here. And it's going to give me all of the standard line types that people use, right? Gas line, fence line, hot water line, phantom line, zigzag. It's going to give me all sorts of stuff in there that I can pick to make this new line. For my intents and purposes, for concrete, I'm just going to use a regular line, right? Because in my mind, it's going to be like patios, solid objects that I'm doing that are on one plane, right? Basically. So I'm going to leave it at its current line right there, which is continuous. So now I have this new color. I can also go in here and I can play with the thickness of the line that it's going to draw, right? So I could go up to a thicker line here. I'll go ahead and do that. I'll do a 0.3 millimeter. Now, normally, if you see right here, I have object 1, 2, and 3, and they're slightly different colors. Right now, I have them all on the same line. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go to object 1, and I'm going to make that my thickest line. And I'm going to do 0.7 thickness on that one. I'm going to go to object 2, and I'm going to go 0.5 thickness. And then I'm going to go to object 3, and I'm going to go 0.3 thickness. And the reason that you would want those to be different thicknesses is so that way when you print your drawings, they're going to print bolder or less bold, because you might have more important objects than other objects. So your perimeter or exterior walls might be object 1, and they're going to be thicker. And then your interior walls might be object 2. They're going to be a little bit thinner when they print, because exterior walls you might consider more important than interior walls, right? Same thing when I'm drawing components on a deck. I might consider, depending on what detail drawing it is, I might consider my beams more important than another part of my drawing, like a joist, right? So I create multiple object layers. And then I have a construction line layer up here, which is light and it's yellow. And I'll actually usually make that a dashed line, right? To differentiate it from other parts of my drawing. And a center line I have as a dashed dot, right? So I know what I'm looking at when I'm looking at different drawings. Center line we used a lot when I was learning originally, and we were doing a lot of like machine parts and stuff like that. So it was important to have a center line mark when you're looking at your objects, right? So you can see I have a pretty good tool palette to start with now. I have 3 object layer lines. I have a viewport, which is going to be important for your paper space. I have a window, so I can draw windows. I could make a door one if I wanted to, but I probably would just use the window line for that. For me, drawing decks, it's not really that important to differentiate the doors other than to say where they're at in the drawing in relationship to whatever I'm building or altering, right? I have a dimension line layer, an annotation layer, concrete layer, and I have a hidden object layer. And a hidden object is also a dashed line, and it's a light color, and I would use that to maybe if I'm focusing on the top of my deck with the joist, maybe I'm doing a dashed hidden line for the beam line under it, so that way you could still see where the beam is, but you also know that it's not the main focus of that drawing, right? It's maybe just there for forward thinking or layout purposes, right? So once you have your tools laid out, you can go ahead and begin drawing, right? So in the next phase of me showing you what to do, I'll take this, which is for a job that I have under contract, and I'll show you how to design this deck out with the house, right? So anyways, thanks for watching, and have a good night.